Back to interNEXT 2021, and this is our final panel for the day, and it's a goodie. We're talking about something that has probably impacted every single person watching this and every business watching this as well. The turbulent era of COVID and how COVID has affected social media platforms, specifically speaking to OnlyFans. And we're going to be diving into this today with our moderator, Holly Ruprecht. She's the Associate Director of Subscriptions at Playboy, over 20 years in adult, working for some of the top companies, Hustler, Naked Sword, and now Playboy. She's a perfect moderator for this panel. I'm going to pass the conch over to Holly.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. This is a very important discussion. I have some great, iconic people on the panel, but I think we would be amiss if we didn't just say a word about the passing of Mr. Flint today. He is someone I worked with personally, and also someone that has touched this industry and had thought a lot of us are able to do what we do because of Mr. Flint. So I just wanted to say a few words about that. I was very saddened to hear of his passing. And Colin suggested we just do a quick moment of silence. Okay, so I want to introduce, on a happier note, I would like to introduce my esteemed panelists. Why don't we start with Mr. Rowntree, Colin. As many of you know, he is a fixture in the industry, always a brass and bold supporter. So Colin, why don't you say a few words about yourself before we move on to Miss Randall?
Thank you, Holly. My name's Colin Rowntree. I'm the founder and owner of Wasteland.com. Started out quite accidentally in 1984. So we're one of the very first premium sites and studios on the internet. Continuous operation. We've branched out over the years into everything from affiliate programs to live streaming to you name it. We had to basically in the early days figure out how to do it without any help, because at that point, adult still was the cutting edge, inventing the internet as we went along, as opposed to today, where we run along trying to catch up and try not to get banned doing it. So that's me, and I'll turn it back to Holly for the next intro.
The next intro does not really need an intro. Her curls are as iconic as she is herself. She is has a long legacy in the industry, and one of my favorite people to work with. I worked with her at Hustler, and I'm thrilled to work with her at Playboy. Holly Randall. Holly, why don't you give a quick introduction to yourself?
Thank you, Holly. I am a 22-year veteran of the adult industry. I started off by working for my mother, Suze Randall, who was an iconic photographer in the industry. I'm a director, a photographer, a producer, and I also have a podcast. And I have kind of the unique perspective of somebody who's seen the way the adult industry used to be, and also just know what it was like via osmosis from my mother's experience, all the way into working in its current manifestation. So I've kind of like seen the entire arc of how the industry has changed. So that's been pretty cool.
Very cool. I'm thrilled to have you. I think it's our first panel together.
Mm-hmm.
And we are expecting some other panelists. I'm not sure if they're here or not. I know Anna Fox was trying to get on. Was she able to get on?
I gave her the link that I got, so
okay.
I don't know.
Maybe the people behind the scenes can check that out for us. So we're talking today about the C word, and not the fun C word. This is sadly COVID that we seem to endlessly talk about. There have been some positive impacts to our industry, such as I know a lot of people's sales have gone up. They have at Playboy for us. But also production has gone down. Holly, can you speak to that and how COVID has, I know you shoot a lot of content. So how has this impacted, and also you had a baby too. So living through production, COVID, and having a baby. Yeah.
It's been quite the year. Yeah. So, obviously when the quarantine first kind of happened back in March, we canceled all of our scenes and just kind of sat tight. And I just, did my podcast for a few months and kind of watched the way the industry itself changed. I think actually COVID was, in a strange way, almost a good thing for a lot of people. It kind of forced us to hit this like pause button on our industry and like really look at it in a way that made us see things differently. Anna is here on the panel, and I had her on my podcast, and we talked about, the second kind of Me Too movement that we experienced, with performers talking about, how they had some unfortunate experiences in the industry and how, they'd really like change that. And that really was brought on by, the ability for them to create their own content and become financially independent through platforms like OnlyFans. And I think the pause that COVID forced upon production forced a lot of these models who were used to just making money by working on sets to put more time and effort into their own personal platforms. And they saw this great return, and they suddenly realized they had a lot more power than they thought they had. So I think in a strange way, COVID kind of had like a positive impact on the industry as a whole, and just made us really like kind of reassess how we conduct business. And I think that it's instituted some positive changes. So I can say for myself, now that I'm back to shooting, besides the obvious COVID measures that we take, everybody's tested, the PPE equipment. We're also very conscious now about like boundary checklists between performers, having special talent liaisons on set to advocate for models. And so I think it's been a really interesting, it's brought about some interesting changes that I feel like none of us could have foreseen. But I think that in the end, it's been positive.
Very so. Oh, and I have just seen that Annalie and Amelia are here. Yay! Annalie, please introduce yourself. She is a dear friend of mine that I've known for many years as well. Recently won an award. Why don't you give a little background on yourself for our viewers?
Hi, everybody. I'm Annalie. I am the owner, operator, founder of 2049 Entertainment. I've been in the business for 20 odd years too. Starting with a very, 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 when the internet first came out, phone and cam company, moved on to Red Light Center, where I was the president of that for many years. And that was a massively multiplayer virtual online world. And then that kind of went into me getting into production, which is ironically what I went to school for, and specialized in VR. So I helped to found Hollow Girls VR back in 2015. And since then, and now today, I run my own company, 2049. And basically I shoot for everyone now. So it's been very interesting. And I'm located in Canada. So even though I did a lot of my work in the past in the United States in terms of production, I now fully produce and only work in Canada currently, as the borders are closed and due to the current situation that we're all in. Oh, and yeah, I won an award the other day. Thanks, Holly. It was a cool one. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Amelia, you're next. How about you give us, I've also known you for many, many years. Why don't you give a few words about yourself and your background? You're on mute, so just unmute yourself, please, if you can. Still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. There you are.
Yay. Well, I've been shooting since the early 90s. I started off shooting almost by accident. I was producing magazines, and I knew all kinds of like awesome models and writers and illustrators and designers. And somehow or other, there was always like a headache with like photographers. So my partner and I were like, maybe we'll pick up a camera, because rather than fixing what someone else did, at least we could fix whatever we had messed up.
Right.
And Holly's mother was actually a huge inspiration to us, like with her amazing work back then, just made me see, okay, this is what erotic photography could be. And fast forward, oh my goodness, 3 decades later. And I do publishing both online and in print still. Print is my first love. And we actually just won a few awards in the Alt Porn Awards. We won for Best Coffee Table Book with Ultra Happy Alarm. And we won Best Rave Shoot and Best Gothic Shoot.
Congratulations. Well deserved. Very well deserved. This is, as we were talking about, this is something that the industry has never gone through before. Colin, how has it affected you and your sites and production and all of that?
It's kind of an interesting circle happened with that. When the shutdown first happened, and we're actually still shut down. Our director of photography is type 1 diabetic, and we refuse to take any risk with him whatsoever because his chances of need of hospitalization and ventilation, and we're in New Hampshire, so there's no vaccine available here yet. So we started out closing down way back in March. And at that point, we started looking at shooting remote. So I did a remote 3-part trilogy where I kind of jury-rigged it with a performer called June Ann, who's worked with Wasteland for 15 years at this point. And she had a partner out there who's a good cameraman. So we did a trilogy of her, and she's actually she's a PhD scientist that works with viruses. She's a virologist in a laboratory at a major hospital. So we did kind of a Art Imitates Life about her life being an immunologist working on COVID research, going home, and she's also a sex addict. So we called it Life in the time, Sex Addiction in the Time of COVID. And it was just about her trying to figure out how to scratch her itch using nothing but a computer and a webcam. And she got a stripper pole in her second bedroom, and it's just a lot of fun. But with that, we had to figure out how to do this. So using nothing but her partner with a camera, an iPhone on a little tripod, and an iPad sitting on top of a bunch of books, using them as monitors and two-way communications, I was able to be the director from 600 miles away. She's in St. Louis. I'm near Boston. So we got together, we set up, I could see it. We had two-way communication on audio by way of the FaceTime or Skype or whatever we're using. We used that as a monitor. I could see exactly what the camera was seeing because that was strapped on top of his camera. So I could see what he was seeing and directed the entire thing. We did over the course of a month, maybe 6 weeks, we did a 3-part series, which ended up with all kinds of award nominations and things. It was just very fluky, funky stuff. But during that time, what was happening is that a lot of the performers that we would have shot, had they come out to New Hampshire or Boston area, were not traveling out here because we were shut down, but they had discovered OnlyFans or Model Hub or one of the other platforms. So they suddenly got their game on as far as being able to figure out how to use a camera, how to do lighting, how to do sound, how to basically lay out, you know, a storyline of what they were going to do and shoot it. So putting that together, we were able to then use our new skills of remote producing and remote directing with their new skills of being micro studio producers and be able to do the entire thing. What would normally have them get in an airplane, come to Boston, drive them to New Hampshire, put them up for 3 days, feed them, tuck them in at night, you know, all of that nice stuff. We were able to do it with, you know, couples all over North America, which works fine. We're still doing that to this day. And it's working well because, you know, we're getting people who normally we wouldn't shoot just because they don't travel or the economics, or they're from California, which is very cost prohibitive for us to bring people out. So we've got access to people in Europe, California, British Columbia that are able to work with us on a remote basis that we never would have before, just because of the logistics and economics of it. And it's actually working out well. And me being a 61-year-old director, I'm digging this shit. I don't have to have people out here fuck up my shooting house, lug stuff around. And it's like, oh, they're all there. Oh, I just sit here and say, okay, here we go. Let's do this. So that's how we've done it. So the performers have gotten a lot better as far as technical savvy, as microfilm, producers and directors on their own. And then I can use, what I've got from, 27 years as a filmmaker, and as a producer to be able to fund it. So we're actually able to do other things beyond, just a couple in a bed. I mean, I send them all over the place into dark, horrible alleys and, break into warehouses and do scary, hostile shit and just stuff gonzo out on the streets of St. Louis and places like that. So it's fun. So that's that's the main thing we've been doing as far as actual production. And it's actually worked out well. And once it's over, I'm sure we'll continue to do some of that. And, we'll bring people back to the studio because we've got red cinema cameras and, I don't want to be sitting on, $55,000 cameras that are doing nothing. So, and you do get a whole cinematic thing if you're using that instead of whatever, they've got okay cameras, but they're not a red 8K cinema camera. So there's going to be a balance like with anything else, but, we don't know until we do get people vaccinated and we see if the vaccine works and we see what the Dr. Fauci says and all the stuff we all look at every day, all of us. We don't know, but
no, everyone doesn't look at that every day.
What's that?
He said that
everyone doesn't look at that every day. I can't be creative if I'm looking at that stuff.
Yeah. Well, Anna, so up in Canada, I read, I'm not sure that it's not as crazy as it is here in the States, but how has it affected you and your company shooting for all these different companies?
So we shut down like everybody else in March-ish. And actually I was scheduled to fulfill a lot of shoots in Los Angeles during the year. So I did once everything reopened. So we shut down. And basically during that time, to be honest with you, I spent it just getting better at lighting, getting better at running everything, learning how to do absolutely every aspect. Because I had to pay the bills at the end of the day. I became a decent editor actually at the end of the day. But definitely my skill set upped, which was great because now that we're open, and I mean, technically, I don't think it's as bad as where you guys are, especially I'm out on the West Coast. We're doing a lot better than the East Coast of Canada, but we're still cautious. So my crew is gone. It's me. And when you come and shoot for me, it's in my house and it's me and maybe one assistant. I do absolutely everything. And I've converted my house into a shoot space. I've converted my house into a post-production studio because of lack of locations and just being safe and being cautious. Because I live here and I shoot here, I'm able to set up the day before, so it's not really stressful in terms of, me doing everything. I set everything up the day before or a couple days before, even slowly, and or leave it up, But the cool thing that kind of occurred and happened, and I did try my hand at remote shooting as well in Los Angeles to fulfill a couple contracts that I did have that we wanted to get done this year. The problem is, though, the kind of shooting I do is VR. It's very specialized. And it turned out I really need to have my hands on the camera when we do shoot. So even though we did attempt to do it and we did get some good content, it wasn't the same as me being up here. So a lot of this year has been me proving concepts and proving the ability that we can produce excellent content up here, the same that you would in Los Angeles. Now, the cool thing is because of OnlyFans and because of all that, I have talent. And that's something that was actually hamstringing me before, that I couldn't shoot because I didn't have enough talent. And OnlyFans has made it okay for a lot of the new performers to come and shoot and take a chance. And, you know, as Holly Randall mentioned earlier, you know, we had a discussion on her podcast about consent and all those kind of things that happened during the lockdown, you know. And that's one of the things that's really cool is I work with a lot of new girls, so they're very comfortable coming in because we've put in a lot of new things in place, a lot of new consent and forms and having all of these permissions in place to make it even more safe than it was before, I feel. But the cool thing with OnlyFans is they've actually brought me a lot more performers who wouldn't have thought to shoot for me before. I asked them before and they'd be like, oh no, I would never do that. So now it's okay now, and it's been great. And I hate to say it, but because everywhere is such a mess, it's actually given me a lot more work up here. So so in terms of what happened, you know, I don't hate that I'm working out at my house literally all the time. I don't hate it at all.
Amelia, how about you? How has this affected you and your production, you and your partner?
Well, maybe I'm a little bit more of a germaphobe than everyone else here. The last shoot that I did was on February 22 with Lance Hart for Alt Star magazine. And I'm waiting until I'm really 100% sure that it is safe to do. You know, obviously we're all making judgments on, you know, we can't live completely in a bubble. So you have to decide what risk are you good with. But for me, I'm okay with if I decided to take a risk, but a shoot is such a collaborative thing where even if you take every precaution, I would just never forgive myself if somebody else caught something on a project that I was running. I couldn't live with that. But I think it's been a really awesome opportunity to look at back catalog. So we've done a lot of remastering of older stuff that was edited for, you know, smaller web standards, so we could make really cool big pictures. And just how we process images is different now. So being able to reprocess old favorites. We've been doing a lot of stuff for our coffee table book line, and that's been really awesome. And there's a number of other people where they were sort of a little bit shut down because of everything going on. And so they also are like, coffee table book, now seems like a good time to do that. And of course we have magazine stuff, and magazines are always a few months behind internet production just by the nature of how long it takes to produce things in print. So we've done a lot of that. But honestly, I mean, I carried hand sanitizer way before the pandemic. So it's something where I was like, I'm not sure how I would up how careful I am. So I just sort of was like, you know what, I can afford to step back on some of that, so I will. But I'm kind of excited that I think in 2021, a lot of those things are going to go back to normal. But I think some of it, Holly touched on this a little bit, is other Holly. It's very confusing. I'm like, you're both Holly R. Holly Randall touched on this a little bit, is when you have some of the things like OnlyFans, and Emily touched on it as well, where that's a whole new business model that the industry was kind of moving that way already, but now it's so much more the case. So sometimes if someone's got an OnlyFans, they might not want to have every single skill set. They might not want to do every single thing. You know, there's only so many sit-ups I'm willing to do. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars worth of ink. I don't have internal corseting. I don't have breast implants. Like, there's a lot of things you can do to make yourself look really neat that I haven't done, but I have built up a pretty fabulous skill set for production and for how you take content all the way from creation through finished product. And I think that we're going to see, as things reopen, a lot more of the industry sort of flipping, where you're going to have your OnlyFans kind of people, your clip site people hiring content producers to make something extra awesome. Because in my experience, what sells best isn't when everything's glam or everything's sort of, you know, amateur style. It's that mix, because people want to sort of see intimate stuff of people that they've seen really glam stuff up, because then they feel like they're kind of getting to know someone super fabulous. Does that make sense?
I want to open up to the panel in general. I love the idea that all of you have said that you have tried new things, learned new things, kind of mastered new things during this time, which I think is a very positive way to be during this time. So I want to open up to whoever wants to first answer this. What is some kind of new skill set or something that you've done that has greatly affected your business besides Holly Rando's baby during this time that you could share with the audience?
I'm going to jump back to, there's a lot of things that you can do with less resources if you consolidate your focus on using the same tools differently and for more things. And my previous example of using remote, using video conferencing, using Zoom, using FaceTime, Skype video, all of those things, you can take what you did in the year 2019 and transfer them over to 2021 and do them, still get them done, but you don't have to do them the same way. So there's a whole lot of ways that I personally have just moved the pieces around. And I still get the job done, but I'm just doing it in a different way now. And it really depends on what it is. You know, a good example are shows. You know, none of us have been to a show since, you know, January 2020. Was the last one I went to, but I'm still going to shows. Actually, I'm going to more shows now. Because between AWE and Why Not and XBiz and now interNEXT, there's a lot of them popping up. And I'm finding the show organizers that have figured out how to make it truly interactive easily, that you can actually grab somebody for an elevator pitch or go and do a sidebar chat with them, one-on-one video. I'm getting probably more quality time and new business at these types of shows than I do at most AVN or XBiz shows, just because nobody's drunk. You're not at a circle bar. There's not this pressing need of 12 people want to glom on you for a so important meeting, and you have to meet this person. It's like, I'm trying to have a conversation. It's like, you know, right now there's, you know, 5 of us sitting here and a bunch of people eavesdropping on us, but we're having almost like a Native American, you know, pass the talking stick. I have a talking stick now, and then I'm going to give the talking stick back to Holly Randall or to Holly Ruprecht. And so it all makes sense doing the show this way. I'll be happy to go to shows. You know, I miss seeing people and going home and be getting sick for a week. I miss that a lot. So hopefully we can do that again someday. But for now, you know, it's just strategically taking the same pieces and the same skill sets and rearranging them for whatever the situation is to make it work. So that's my takeaway.
Those are great points.
Holly Rando, what do you have to say? I always pick on Holly.
I'll
Rando.
take the walking stick. Thanks. The talking stick, not the walking stick. Yeah. So besides learning how to give birth, this year I like what Anna Lee was saying. I kind of taught myself. I'd been teaching myself before, but I really got more into teaching myself how to edit video. It's an important skill to have, and it's actually not that difficult. Adobe Premiere really has so many amazing tools, and it's kind of it's kind of intuitive, and also like YouTube is amazing. You can learn anything on YouTube. I also wanted to, because I was working on a fine art photography book. I have a couple of books out through Goliath, but I wanted to like create my own where I shot specifically for it rather than just taking my back catalog and like throwing it into a book. So I went and bought an 8x10 film camera. And I was like, I'm going to be, you know, I saw the Sally Mann documentary and I became like obsessed. So I bought this 8x10 film camera. And so I've been really wanting to shoot nudes with it. But a funny story is I took it to Yosemite last week and for the first time to use it. And I discovered that I bought a lens without a shutter on it. And I didn't know that you could buy lenses without shutters on them. I didn't know that existed. So that was a surprise. So basically what I did was I took the lens cap off and then I put it back on really fast, which felt like such a stupid thing for me to do. You know, I was supposed to be a professional photographer. I would teach workshops. And now I'm like, I don't know how to use this thing. But it's, you know, I have the time and the ability to just play with it. And so I think it's been a really wonderful way for me to explore different mediums of photography, and also like, you know, just learn different skill sets, like I said, video editing. So it's been a good year for me to just kind of pick up on new things I didn't have time for before.
Nice. Anna?
You know what, when you're used to being behind the camera and then you start editing, you become a better director. It's really cool. So if even for people who are just like performers who are shooting their own stuff, if you learn how to edit, you actually become a better performer and director, because you know what it takes on the other side. So it's a really, really wonderful skill to have. And ironically, I am now my own photographer. So actually I bought a camera as well. Holly, not as fancy as yours. But I've been doing my own stills, because you know what? Having less people in the environment is better for keeping me safe and keeping everyone safe. But on top of that, what I really found that seemed to work very well and kind of goes in line is what customers are looking for, or what seems to be selling a lot right now in terms of the content that I've been doing, is they want very realistic, very natural, very personable content. Solos. Like I was on this big solo kick like 2 years ago. I was like, you know, because I was starting out my company and I'm self-funding it whole thing. So there's days that I can't afford to do, like there were days that I couldn't afford to hire a guy and I because I don't perform. I just direct and I produce everything. So there were days I couldn't afford to do a whole fancy boy girl scene myself. Just couldn't afford all the performers, and then having more bodies and more people and just being human, you know, there's factors that come into play that make shoots longer and more difficult. And so sort of going back to that solo thing of where if you're directing a girl and you just try and really get that natural performance as if she's really speaking to you, I found is really, really going well. And in the medium with which I specialize in VR, having a very natural, very intimate kind of performance really, really works well. And you know what, frankly, we all miss people. We miss connections, and you know, having that, I think, is something that's really working right now. So if you're a performer and you're doing your OnlyFans, I mean, keep doing that. Keep working on the natural. Keep working on reaching people at an intimate sort of level, an emotional level, because we just are all starving for connection right now. And even though it's amazing that the tech has allowed us to do what we have so far, I know at the end of the day that's still really what everyone's missing. And so a lot of the content that's doing the best is the quieter, the more simply shot, beautifully lit, just where the girl is really, really, really pushing that connection through the lens. So I'm finding that's the way to go right now. And it saves you money, and you're by yourself, so you don't have to worry about being with a bunch of people.
How about you? Tell us about something you've learned in the pandemic that has influenced your business. Or can you hear me?
Who are
All
you
right.
talking to?
Yeah, Amelia, you.
Yeah.
I think her stream is froze up. There, she moved.
Yes. Yay. Joys of these virtual shows. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Something that I've learned that's been an impact on my business?
Yeah, during this COVID, I found it really fascinating that so many of you have taken this time to do positive things, learn new skills, learn new stuff that affect your business. So I was hoping you could share some with the panel.
Sure. Some of the stuff that I've been focused on, obviously not content production. I think what Amelia was saying about that model connection with the camera is something where I have actually shipped some of my equipment to some of the talent that I know so that they could do some stuff like that. Which I guess maybe I learned a little bit more about coaching other people how to do what I do. It didn't feel so much like learning, but thinking about it, I mean, how do you learn best? This practice. A lot of the things I've been focused on have been sort of higher end statistical finance and stats analysis for figuring out, like, if you send X clicks to X, just doing it a more advanced way than I would have done it in the past, since I've had the time to kind of dig around in that. Learned how to cook more things. I'm a good cook anyway, but I've learned how to cook more. So, you know, got the extra COVID-19 putting on.
Well, this panel talks about OnlyFans, and I know that we're all.
I've got one more that I'll throw in. It's kind of a fun one. You know, before pandemic started, I think the last TV series that I ever watched religiously was MASH. So that kind of dates me on how long it's been since I watched episodic TV. Once we got locked down, everybody's saying, "Oh, Netflix and chill." I say, "All right, fine, let me try this." I almost immediately got hooked on a series called The Americans, and then another one called Homeland, and then another one, and another one. And I'm down to a drill at this point that every morning I wake up and I'll watch a 52-minute segment of something. When I go to bed at night, I'll watch another 52-minute segment of a different one. And I'm finding that watching through the eyeball of different directors, that I'm gaining skills I never fucking knew anything about. The one I'm watching right now is this wonderful series out of Spain called Money Heist. The whole thing is amazing. It's unbelievable. And it's thinking not through the American, European, Canadian eyeballs set. It's in Spain. It's in Madrid. All of the characters are Spanish. The director's Spanish. They're speaking Spanish, but it's overdubbed in English, so my old eyes don't have to read subtitles. But I have learned more in the last 2 weeks about character development from Money Heist than I learned in 20 years of directing my own films or going to workshops. So that's my 2 bits. Actually, I'm just a lazy ass and I like to watch TV now, but I can justify it in this manner. So better directing through Netflix.
I think that's actually a great justification and totally true. Aside from, I love Money Heist also because it doesn't have all the tropes of US whatever, so you don't know what's going to happen next. And it's got a different macroeconomic take on what you would normally see in like American cinema, which is just amazing. But YouTube also, I got a YouTube premium subscription, which is the best thing in the universe because you can learn stuff without having to watch commercials. And watched a lot of Holly's podcast. And just there's a lot of things where you can kind of put new input in your brain when you're not getting that going out in the world input through the different video streaming things.
Yeah. Holly, how is your podcast going? You're still doing it, but are you not doing it in person now with COVID, or how has that?
I'm doing it remotely, which sucks. It sucks so bad. It depends on who I'm interviewing. Like when I interviewed Amelia, it was great because like she's obviously she has a lot of technical know-how. She has a whole setup. Like because I not only record it through Zoom, but I also make them record it through an external camera as well because Zoom doesn't output in 1080. It only outputs in 720, and I want a 1080 output. And so I basically make people jump through all these hoops, and it's very annoying. And some people, like I said, like Anna Lee, were great. Some people, like for example, I just interviewed Shawn Michaels last week, and like his internet wasn't working on his computer, and then like his iPad won't transfer the files, so like he's having a lot of trouble like getting me, you know, the final video output that I need to make it work. But you know what I mean? Like I think a lot of my listeners understand that we're all just doing the best that we can with what we've got. And I mean, it's, you know, it's been really great. It's been a wonderful opportunity for me to stay connected with people. which has been really cool. So I feel very grateful that I have that outlet.
Yeah. Yeah, we're grateful too. It's great. I guess we should mention OnlyFans because it's in our title. And probably none of us have OnlyFans. But how has OnlyFans and the popularity of that, and also the way the models are now able to become their own businesses, which is we're all very thankful for, they should. How has that affected your guys' business and your shoots? And do you have people that say to you, no, I'm not going to do that because I'll make twice as much on my OnlyFans, or et cetera, et cetera? Anna Lee?
I'm going to jump in on this one. Actually, it's helped me, being that I'm in Canada and I can't come to the US right now. It's helped me because one of the major problems that I had previously in shooting only up here was I didn't have enough talent. I didn't have enough girls that were, or models that were interested in doing any kind of porn, naked, anything online. And there are a lot of, we're a very sex positive country for the most part. And especially where I am is pretty liberal. And so there were a lot of models previously, dancers, things like that, that I'd asked, hey, do you want to shoot something? Do you want to try it out? I'd love to shoot you. No. I'd get turned down all the time. But now it's a different story. It's really opened up. And on top of that, it's also upped the talent ability as well. So when a girl does come to my set, I'm not, even though it may be her first big shoot or her first studio shoot, she's not coming, not knowing absolutely anything. She's already done several solos. She's already done some baby boy girl for herself in her own house. She already has a basic concept of lighting and camera and whatnot, and how to speak to a lens and all that other stuff. So for me, it's actually helped my business, because my business is based on the talent I'm able to produce for the talent I'm able to put into stuff that I'm able to produce for others. So because of OnlyFans, I am not running into that problem. And on top of which, and I believe Amelia maybe is the one who had mentioned this earlier, is at the end of the day, some of the girls are actually looking for someone to hold the camera for them, help them with lighting, make their production a little bit more professional, or at least give them some guidance. And that's something else that I've been able to do, and it's created a secondary sort of side revenue stream, if you will, is working with them to just improve the content overall in the community that we're in. And it's really great because we're a small community. We all talk to each other. We're all helping each other. There's none of that kind of other stuff going on. It's very supportive and very small still, but OnlyFans has definitely boosted my business big time, so I'm grateful for it.
Very interesting. I mean, I found it fascinating that you actually ship your equipment to the talent. Does anyone else do that? I know we only have 5 minutes left, but
I did, yeah. I did the same. I shipped some stuff down to LA, and I also, when the pandemic first hit, I set up remote studios for like fitness studios. So I put cameras in different fitness studios, and they would send me the videos, and I'd edit it for them. So it was the same thing with the stuff, but yeah.
I don't have an 8x10 though.
I gotta say, Amelia, you're brave. There is no way I would ship my content, my equipment to anybody. I mean, when I was on maternity,
we're sitting on $50,000 red cinema with gimbals and tracks. That ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I work with Reds too sometimes, and yeah, same. But I also have like less expensive cameras that I also just no.
Nothing goes nowhere. No.
Just no.
I don't send them to just like random hot people. It's like, people I actually know.
I've got one more little suggestion for people. It's a fairly new thing. Some people might know about it. It's called Clubhouse. It's an app. So far, it's only for iPhone. Android coming soon. There are more like OnlyFans and cam performers on there than you can shake a stick at, and the thing is growing rampantly. And just you get it on your iPhone, you sign up what your interests are, you make some friends, and you get these notifications. Somebody opens a room. It's like Zoom with no video. It's just people talking.
So you don't have to nice and comb your hair.
Yeah, no.
Really quickly, I made more money on Clubhouse off of learning about crypto than I did in 4 years of college. I'm serious. So,
we only have a few more minutes. If anybody wants some closing thoughts, please do it now. And I want to thank you all again. You're all wonderful people. I'm thrilled to know you all. And again, say sorry of the passing of Mr. Flint. Anybody have any closing thoughts before we close this wonderful panel?
Actually, I was just gonna, since we're talking about apps, it reminded me of an app that I learned from another performer online that's great for people who are shooting content for their OnlyFans on their phone. It's called Film Mic Pro or Film IC Pro, FILM IC Pro. And it's an app that actually lets you control the settings on your phone for video in a way that you can't do with just the phone by itself. So it enables you to be able to put out a much higher quality video production on your iPhone. So it's a great tool for OnlyFans creators. And that was
I second that. I second that. I actually have it both for my iPhone and Android. Filmic Pro is the best filming app for anyone using a cell phone. It turns your phone into like a professional camera. It literally does. So yeah, second that 100%.
Anybody else have any app suggestions before we go? I don't even know how to tell. Do we have any questions from the audience? I don't know. No? Closing thoughts, Colin, anybody before we head off? Colin, you're
think a happy thought. 2022 is on its way. I don't think we're out of the woods on 2021 for any time coming soon.
It does not.
And hopefully the Amazon Prime will have frequent flyer points soon, so we can all get free shit because we buy so much crap from it. That's it for me.
It was great seeing everybody, and in a way, this is like becoming something that's kind of a little bit more like social interaction. And thanks so much to like Panos and GFY and everybody for making this possible.
Yeah, yes, I agree. It is great to see your faces. You all look wonderful. None of you people ever age. Jesus.
There's a filter. There's a filter. It's not the cat filter, unfortunately, though I did consider showing up in the cat filter, but
I have a special painting in my attic.
Oh, I just got that. Took me a minute. Yeah, no, good ring light. Good ring light does wonders. OnlyFans.
Thank you for having us, Holly.
What's that?
I said thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for joining, everybody. It's a pleasure. Why don't you, since they haven't cut us off, just do a little commercial for your businesses. Holly Randall, go.
Holly Randall Unfiltered is the name of my podcast. hollyrandall.com is my membership website. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Holly Randall.
And she shoots for Playboy Plus.
I do. Yes, I do.
Mine is Wasteland.com. We do pretty much soup to nuts, anything affiliate program. If you have a little traffic you want to send to, if performers, we're always hiring, although I might direct from 500 miles away at this point. You kind of name it. I'm kind of the OG here. I mentor people as well for free. I'm not like Jeff Dillon. You know, give me $100. You know, no, just send me a donut. You know.
Anna,
all right, just go to Anna Lee VRX. All my info's on there. 2049 Entertainment. And if you're Canadian and you'd like to perform, hit me up. Anna Lee VRX.
Amelia, go.
SpookyCash.com if you've got traffic and you would like to upsell gothic cosplay tattoo goodness, and hit me up at Amelia G on Twitter. And wait, I've got spelling. It's like I'm on a regular panel. It's probably backwards, isn't it?
That's smart. No, it's not.
No, awesome.
No, that was good. Thank you all to all the panelists and GFY and everyone who watched this wonderful happening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Holly Randall, it was good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.